Alright, what's the haps with these lands? What is this incredibly overpoweringly sweet scent? It smells like flowers. Kay has returned! Uncle Bad, is this it? Huh? Isn't that Detective Bad and Kay over there? Looks like she managed to escape the bailiff. She's a crafty one. She's a future ninja. No, that's not quite it. Too bad. It's so pretty. I think you're still a bit too young to be wearing that. But since you found it, I guess I can let you keep it. Thanks! I'll treasure it always. Those two seem to get along rather well. Oh, here. I got something else for you. Swiss roll! Yay! Thank you, Uncle Bad. Look at her go! Earlier, I ate one of these with Gummy. Gummy? You mean Gumshoe. Gummy he was trying to be nice to me because I was gonna get in trouble. And then he got in trouble because he lied to protect me. Gummy. I know he didn't kill Daddy. Don't cry. Faraday would be sad if he saw you crying. I'm not crying. It'd be okay if you were. Okay. Oh, it's the mister from before and the lady too. Don't you think it would be a good idea to go home for the time being? You're not involved in the investigation, so it's for the best if you do. Actually, I'm Uncle Bad's assistant. So, I'm related to the investigation. Is that so, Detective Bad? I thought you weren't a babysitter. Yeah, I guess. What? You were just scolding us like kids to not mess up the crime scene. And now you let this child run free? Why? People are free to investigate things outside of the actual crime scene. You also had a few things she wanted to look into. Got a problem with that? Arr. I don't have a problem with that, but I am curious as to what Miss Yu is looking into. Uncle Bad, I'm gonna go look somewhere else now, okay? All right, I'm counting on you. Oh, that's right. Hey, mister. Yes, what is it? I know Gummy really isn't the bad guy. I mean it. So, please, find the real bad guy, okay? I won't forgive whoever did this. But in the absence of the perfect piece of testimony and evidence, there's no one else who could be the true culprit other than Detective Gumshoe. She wandered off while I was pondering. I still say that we should do her proud. I'd like you to notice something with your crazy eyes. What is this smell that has permeated the area? I didn't read the whole word. It's sweet and flowery, although at this strength, I'm likely to suffocate from it. I can't conduct an investigation under these circumstances. I need to open a window and air this room out. I demand that you open a window right now. Hurry! Francisca, one of the windows is already open. I can see that. I wonder, is it just a coincidence that one of the windows in this room is already open too? Interesting. Well, I'm sure it didn't mean nothing. I can see down into the courthouse courtyard from here. What is that mess supposed to be? Looks like an optical illusion. I believe it's supposed to be postmodern in design. More like thoughtlessness in design. Oh, snap! I can't disagree there. All right, but I actually meant to talk to the Mr. Broody-man. Detective Bad, what exactly was Kay searching for? Nothing that concerns you, boy. Oh, and I suppose it has something to do with Kay? It does, because she's Faraday's daughter. Anyway, hurry up and get to the point. I have a mirror. I don't have time to waste. Sounds like you'd rather be left alone. I have something I'd like to confirm with you once again. I don't have anything to say to you. Yeah, well, too bad you're talking to me anyway. Huh. Be that as it may, we still have questions that we need answers to. So you don't get a choice in the matter, you big nerd. Now then, first of all, what is the overpowering smell that is permeating this room? Upon entering this room, I thought I was going to suffocate. It's that ultra-strong perfume Yu wears. She spilled some of it. I was having a bad time of it myself. And I didn't think twice and opened the window, but that smell's still here. Perfume, huh? So, the sweet scent in the air is perfume. Well, it's giving off quite a stench. I bet it's some cheap no-name brand. She said it's a famous brand from overseas. It's a knockoff. Yes, definitely a knockoff. No disrespect, but she forced one of those bottles on me. Here, little girl, you can have it. I was born for a much more expensive and refined perfume. However, seeing as how you just happen to have a spare, I suppose I'll take it. Miles Edgeworth, you will hold on to this bottle without fail. Yeah. Why can't she ever be honest about her wants? Silly, silly, silly Francisca. So now we have the perfume Miss You wears. Just fantastic. I'm sure it's important. Is that all you wanted to talk about? If so, I'm going back to investigating. And actually, I still have a few other things I wish to inquire about. All right, let's talk. So you were in this room the entire recess? Like I said, I made a call to the precinct to get that big lug down here. Other than that, I was waiting for the recess to end in here. At least your story is consistent. Earlier, you stated that you were in the lobby with Miss Yu. Yeah, I ran into her in the hallway. She said she wanted to talk to me about something, so we came in here. Then what you're saying is that until Detective Gumshoe's arrival, you and Miss Yu were in two different locations? Guess I am. Interesting. Speaking of that lawyer, she seems to have a great dislike for you. Let's see. Miss Yu is the sister of the victim of the KG-8 incident. As I recall, Detective Bad was the lead detective on the case. I wonder if that reason for her disdain isn't simply because you failed to guard Cece, but because you were the lead detective on the case. You knew? I also know that today's trial involving the Cadopian Embassy staff member is being referred to as the second KG-8 incident. Now then, Detective, I believe it's time you were honest with me. Seriously, don't mess with Miles. Dude's gonna find stuff out. You can't stop him. And told me the truth behind your relationship with Miss Yu and Mr. Faraday. And the KG-8 incident. If you already know that much, I guess it'd be alright to tell you. Good! Now tell me the information! Now then, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the KG-8 incident. It's not exactly a happy story. Yeah, well, very few crimes have a happy ending. Other than the people who were directly involved, you two will be the first to hear what I'm about to tell. Ha! Of course, there's a lollipop. The honest truth behind the KG-8 incident. Faraday, you and I, as you already know, we three were involved with the KG-8 incident. Faraday and I, we were originally on the trail of a smuggling ring. You mean the smuggling case involving one of the Amano Group's secretaries? That trial was just a front. A facade? A Schmeckledorf. Yeah, but that case became tainted. All because the witness who was going to testify about the Amano Group's ties to the smuggling ring, CCU, was killed. Then what became of the secretary who was arrested? His name was Colin Devilray. You'll forget about this information and remember it 7 years when you see his corpse. To be honest, the guy didn't know a thing about the smuggling ring. But he confessed to knowing about it anyway. Devilray was probably being intimidated by the big boss man, just another scapegoat. The boss man of the Amano Group? You can't seriously mean Mr. Ernest Amano. I'm incredibly young in comparison to when I will be in 7 years and can't realize that he was an evil guy. That can't be right. It's probably just Detective Bad's personal hypothesis. What's he trying to do, suspecting Mr. Amano of being involved with smuggling? Probably being accurate, generally. I suppose it would have been quite difficult to secure an acquittal after he confessed. But the man who killed CCU, Manny Cochin, was a completely different person. But since he's already being acquitted once of her murder, Mr. Faraday, how could you have let him go? If I remember correctly, I heard that Mr. Faraday had an important piece of evidence stolen from him. That wasn't Faraday's fault. It was mine. I wasn't vigilant enough. Faraday, Cece, I was supposed to protect them both. Miss Mew did mention that as well. About how Detective Bad was supposed to guard her sister. But even I, who was supposed to protect them, I fell into their trap. What kind of a trap? The holes in this jacket are a testament to that trap. You mean you were fired upon? You were shot at that many times in one gunfight? No. Only about half of these are from that case. That's still a lot! But the reason I continue to wear this jacket is to remind myself of the lessons I learned from the KG-8 incident. I see. I couldn't protect CCU, and the suspect was found not guilty. We hit a brick wall, as far as the law was concerned. And that's when she came into the courtroom, the victim's sister. That's when I first met Callisto Yu. Explain further! About when you first met Miss Yu. It was on the day the verdict of the KG-8 incident was handed down, was it not? Yeah. Faraday and I, we apologized to her from the bottom of our hearts. It was all we could do, but just saying you're sorry won't bring my sister back, she said. And then she gave me a hard slap across the face. Well, she certainly had a lot of self-control to just stop at a slap. If it was me, not even 100 lashes would have been punishment enough. I suppose not. You said it herself, that she never wanted to see either of us ever again. But after that, you've seen her many times over, correct? Yeah. Faraday and I, even after the KG-8 incident had come to a close, we continued to hunt down the smuggling ring and got involved in a variety of cases. But it was no use. We cracked so many different cases. But the result was always the same. We couldn't find the real mastermind behind the ring. Is the ring really that big? It was in the pursuit of the ring that we met you once again. It was during another trial related to the smuggling ring. Faraday was the prosecutor and I the lead detective. Took to the witness stand. She appeared out of the blue as the defense attorney. Yeah, that's something. Her client was related to the smuggling ring and she was defending them? Yeah. Was pursuing the ring as best as she could as a lawyer. And I think she defended Rel this time for the same reason. Come to think of it, Miss Yu did say something to the same effect, about how she was willingly defending a criminal for the sake of maybe possibly sort of getting information. Yeah, you got your own agenda. Good for you, good for you. You're still probably definitely the person who killed people, though. And for that, you've not a single qualm about defending a known killer? How dare you say I would defend a killer just because I did defend a killer? I don't need to see it again, I remember the lines. I already made my peace. Yep. Yeah, I know, but you did yourself, thank you. Huh. Doesn't matter what the reason is. Helping a criminal is just despicable. You're so naive, little girl. I could have stolen this lollipop from you. That's how naive you are. How dare you insult the daughter of Avant Karma? Just like us, you felt that she had hit the limit of what the law could do. That's all. The law is merely a tool. There's no limit to it, only the skill of the craftsman. You two are still too young, but one day you'll know what I mean. Not enough sidetracking. What matters is that we met you again in pursuit of the smuggling ring. That's all. Alright. What about Faraday? So, what was your relation to Mr. Faraday? You even seem to know Kay fairly well. I met him when he was a rookie prosecutor. Known him ever since. And Kay, I've known her since the day she was born. Oh, wow, so you're a legit honorary uncle. Faraday and I, we cracked quite a few cases together. You two seem to have made no progress at all in the Yatagatasu case. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I definitely didn't know that or anything. Did we touch a nerve? I only have one thing to say to you. No one knew more about the Yatagatasu than me and Faraday. Well, I would imagine the Yatagatasu themselves probably knew more. That's why I was called upon to testify in today's trial. To prove that Rel was not the real Yatagatasu. Which I would have done if we hadn't turned around and accused Faraday. After that accusation, I was asked to testify, but this time, to prove or disapprove the accusation, but I guess I won't be doing that either. I sense that there's more to the statement than meets the eye. Perhaps a bit more digging into the Yatagatasu is what's necessary. Whew, so much information is being given to us this day! You claim to know much about the Yatagatasu. Would you care to share what you know with me? What you two should be looking for right now is proof of murderous intent towards Faraday and Rel. I agree, which is exactly why I'm asking you about the Yatagatasu. What? The KG-8 incident and the second KG-8 incident. Both of these cases are tied to the smuggling ring. And in both these cases, the witness who was to testify about the ring was murdered. However, there's one point in which they differ, and that is the presence or absence of the great thief Yatagatasu. Mr. Rel claimed to be the Yatagatasu, however, in the middle of the trial, he suddenly declared Mr. Faraday to be the real Yatagatasu. Then, during the recess, they were both killed. Don't you find that to be the least bit odd? Miles Edgeworth, stop beating around the bush and just spit it out already. I'm very lost and confused. I mean, there must be some reason that the two men suspected of being the Yatagatasu were both killed at the same time. A reason, huh? And so, in order to catch Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rel's cold-blooded killer, I feel that I need to learn as much as I can about the Yatagatasu. If it'll help you solve this case, then I'll tell you. I'll tell you the reason why we've never caught the Yatagatasu. What was that sudden outburst for? You almost made me whip you by accident. Now I'll do it on purpose. Ah, that was Edgeworth! It still accidentally whipped me anyway. There are three main reasons why the Yatagatasu will always be one step ahead. First, the Yatagatasu always knows the exact location of the target object. Second, the Yatagatasu always knows exactly how to disarm the security system. Third, the Yatagatasu doesn't leave a single shred of evidence behind ever. I see. So those are the Yatagata's special traits. Sounds like an incredibly elusive thief. Ain't no mask the mask, I'll tell you that much. Oi. The Yatagatasu has never been caught on tape, never tries to draw anyone's attention, and would never do something as lowbrow as commit murder. That's how I knew that Rel wasn't the real Yatagatasu right away. But you can't use that sort of logic on its own to prove that he wasn't. Listen, little girl, I'm not done talking yet. Garkin! What's different about this time was that evidence related to the smuggling ring was sent to the police. And the sender was none other than the one who infiltrated the Cadopian embassy, the Yatagatasu. The Yatagatasu sent the evidence? Until now, the Yatagatasu would always publicize any corrupt dealings through the mass media. But not this time. The evidence this time was something only Faraday and I, and a select few others knew about. In that case, how can you be so sure that it was the Yatagatasu who sent it? Well, that's easy. A special card that only the Yatagatasu uses was attached. That's how I can be so sure. And just what sort of card is it? Here, take a look at this article. Whenever the Yatagatasu wants to publicize something, a white card is sent alongside with the stolen information. But when we questioned Rel about what was sent along with the white card, Rel had no idea what it was. Ah, that's how Detective Bad knew that Mr. Rel was a phony. Thank you very much. I have a much better understanding of the Yatagatasu now. That was a good talk. Excuse me, Mr. Edgeworth. Yeah? His Honor would like to transfer the evidence from today's trial over to you. So if you could please head over to the courtroom, it'd be much appreciated, sir. Understood. I'll be there shortly. Detective Bad, what does the law mean to you? Finding the answer to that question is the only reason I'm still alive. Damn. Gonna get deep with it, huh? Alright, sure. I became a prosecutor to find the answer to that question myself, and to play a part in ensuring that all criminals everywhere are found guilty. All criminals, yes. I mean, I can see how this viewpoint kind of got twisted a wee bit. Oh, it's you, Mr. Edgeworth. It appears that His Honor is still a bit dispirited. For the first time today, I experienced what it's like to stand at the witness stand. I now have a greater appreciation for just how hard it is to give testimony. There's no reason for you to be all depressed about it, Your Honor. As a judge, no one expects you to think about anything other than the verdict. Francisca, there's no need to further depress His Honor. But I'm not trying to, Miles. Yeah, I know, she's just bad at comforting people. But she tried. Your Honor. Your Honor, I've come to collect the evidence that was to be transferred to me. Your Honor, the evidence. Your Honor! No, God, dear, why? Oh, yes, can I help you? I'd like to collect the evidence now, sir. Your Honor? Do you think you can stay focused long enough to at least do your job? Yes, I'm sorry. And I would, except that the defense attorney is yet to arrive. She's busy with the investigation. So let's keep this brief, shall we? Yeah. By my beard, I shall allow it. Very well. In that case, please confirm that all of the pieces of evidence are present. Furthermore, the evidence that was used on the murders of Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell are also included, so please go ahead and use them in your investigation into their case. Understood, Your Honor. The pieces of evidence that were used in the murder of these two men. This could be a very good chance for me to find leads regarding their case. And maybe even something that'll finally lead me to the truth! I placed all of the evidence over at the prosecutor's bench for you. Thank you, Judge. I see. Thank you very much. I'll go and confirm that they're all accounted for. After I consult my counsel! Francisca, what do your all-seeing eyes see? It looks like your debut trial fizzled out thanks to it being declared a mistrial. Too bad. But now you can take your time bidding the evidence that transferred to you goodbye. Or bidding it, yeah, I said it right the first time. It's much too early to shelve the pieces that were given to me. Oh, how do you figure? 2 of the pieces were used to kill Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell. Naturally, having all of them makes it easier for me to examine them more thoroughly. Yes, of course. Don't tell me you forgot about that fact, didn't you, Francisca? I don't have to answer the characteristically foolish questions of a foolish fool. Now hurry up and check the evidence already. Trust me, I will. In due time. Once I'm done talking to you, which I am, but that's why I'm going to talk to the judge. It appears that the judge is still a bit dispirited. Stop that! You're being so depressing! You should listen to her, Your Honor, before things go from bad to worse. Kind of like how I almost shredded my throat open by making that noise. Although it can't really get much worse for him other than to be whipped by her. Regardless of that fact. Alright, let's see. What do we got here in the way of evidenciae? So this is the evidence related to today's Cadopian embassy trial from Mr. Faraday's bag. You mean the evidence bag that was on the table in lobby number 2, right? Yes, finally we can take a look at the evidence itself and not just data about them. Let's be sure to thoroughly examine them while we have the time. Agreed. I want to take a good look at all of the evidence from the embassy murder weapon, too. And why is that? Because I still don't fully understand what today's trial was about. Yeah. Don't point your crop at me just because you don't know something. I don't know how else to deal with my feelings. I wasn't raised well. And don't you dare try to order me around just because Papa chose you today. I see someone is still sore about not being picked by Mr. Von Karma. It's also real to see the knife up close. So we have the knife, the gun, an envelope. What's this organizer doing here? Oh, that's right, I completely forgot to tell you. About what, Your Honor? Because he was too busy sulking. They found Mr. Faraday's personal organizer inside the evidence bag of his. Detective Bad requested it be passed along to you. He said it would help the investigation. Detective Bad said that? What a strange stroke of luck. Well, never look a gift horse in the mouth. You might as well flip through it too. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Let's look at this knife. It's a weird knife. It's a knife that was used to kill Mr. Faraday. Who would have thought that such a beautiful piece of art could be used for such a cruel act? I mean, I wouldn't call the original, I wouldn't call what I'm talking about beautiful art, but I mean, technically a work of art was used as the murder weapon in the very first Ace Attorney trial ever, so I mean, that's a thing. Anyway, and it never crossed your mind that you'd use your riding crop for the wrong purpose. Fun fact, you're not supposed to beat people with that. Anyway, gun time! This gun was originally used to kill the Cadopian embassy staff member. When the crime was reported, the responding police found Mr. Rell still holding it, which led to his immediate arrest. And then, this gun took the original shooter's life. How ironic. Indeed. There doesn't seem to be anything else we can learn from this piece of evidence. Alright, then let's look at this, this planner book. Mr. Faraday's organizer. It appears he was in the habit of using it. Looks like he wrote a strategy for getting Mr. Rell convicted down in here. Oh, that was her. Dang it! I collected the evidence I need to prove that Rell was the killer. Between the handgun Rell had on him when he was arrested and the surveillance tape, I should be able to prove that he was the one. It appears that Mr. Faraday honestly believed that Mr. Rell was the killer in the case. The sound of the handgun going off was recorded with superb clarity on the surveillance video. I also have evidence that I can use to prove that Rell is not the real Yatagatasu. Oh god, I didn't read what Edgeworth said. Crap, sorry! I was too invested in the actual word, sorry. No matter how he may try to play it, As long as I have the Yatagatasu's key, I can prove he's a phony. If I present it to him in court, it should clear everything up. And he apparently also had a very decisive piece of evidence. It's been a long battle. I hope this will finally bring it to an end. Yes, I believe that Mr. Faraday was well prepared to discredit any claim Mr. Rel may have had about being the real Yatagatasu. And he had to wait to prove that Mr. Rel was the guilty party in the embassy murder. This organizer is a clue straight from Mr. Faraday. I'll have to take my time and give it a thorough read later. I already did! Rude. Look, there's a picture stuck between the pages here. It appears to be a key. Oh, he was being literal about the Yatagatasu's key. And a rather ornate one at that. Just look at the design on the handle. The craftsmanship is superb. Could this be the Yatagatasu's key Mr. Faraday mentioned in his organizer? The Yatagatasu's key? Detective Bad said something earlier. What's different about this time was that evidence related to the smuggling ring was sent to the police, and the sender was none other than the one who infiltrated the Cadopian embassy, the Yatagatasu. This happened like less than 15 minutes ago. The Yatagatasu sent the evidence? Until now, the Yatagatasu would always publicize any corrupt dealings through the mass media, but not this time. The evidence this time was something only Faraday and I, and a select few others knew about. Mr. Faraday must have been trying to keep this secret key safe. As the prosecutor on both the Yatagatasu and smuggling ring cases, that's to be expected. Well, now I've got the key. That's nice. That's odd. What is it? Mr. Faraday didn't mention anything about a knife in his organizer. That certainly is odd. The weapon that was used to kill the Cadopian embassy staff member was the gun. But if that's the case, then where did the knife that was used to murder Mr. Faraday come from? Isn't that obvious? It was brought into the courthouse by Mr. Rel. That's the only logical conclusion, right? No, because it's not that easy to smuggle a weapon like that in here. It's a freaking courthouse, Francisca. Every person who enters the courthouse doors is checked thoroughly for contraband. Then again, you would assume that they would have taken the bullets out of the murder gun weapon before it was used as evidence in court. You know, instead of letting it still be used as a gun. So that's a bit of an issue, ain't it? Every person who enters the courthouse is checked thoroughly for contraband. Furthermore, the suspect was handcuffed, making it impossible for him to bring a knife as large as this inside. In that case, how do you suppose the knife ended up inside the courthouse? I need to think carefully here. There's nothing related to the knife written anywhere in Mr. Faraday's organizer. However, it is a fact that this knife came from Mr. Faraday's evidence bag. Conversely, there's one item listed in Mr. Faraday's organizer that no one has claimed to have seen today. So in order to solve this mystery, I believe I'll need to take another good look at the evidence. Miles Edgeworth, can I take the fact that you have yet to answer me to mean that you don't have an answer for me? Actually, I do know the answer, Francisca. Then what is it? Why was the silent treatment then, eh? One of the pieces of evidence we've been holding has been hiding a secret of its own. It was through this piece of evidence that the knife was brought into the courthouse. Well, okay. Using logic, I mean, when I looked at the knife, like, can I actually, like, inspect it a little more? No. Well, the picture here that's behind Edgeworth sure made it look like this is possible. It might be insane, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. This Yatagatasu's key Mr. Faraday mentioned in his organizer. This is how the knife was brought into the courthouse. You're not making any sense, Miles Edgeworth. Humph, smug. You just need to look a bit closer, Francisca, to see what I mean. Don't the color and ornamentation of the key's handle remind you of anything? They do remind me of the knife. Very good. Both the Yatagatasu's key in this photo and the murderous knife have this very unique design on their handles. Furthermore, even though Mr. Faraday mentions the Yatagatasu's key, the only object we found at the crime scene was the knife. So, he never brought up a knife, but he talked about a key. And yet, we found a knife, but never found a key? I don't think so. You don't seriously mean to say... Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. It appears that you've finally caught up. And yes, I do mean to say that these two pieces are in fact one and the same. But that's impossible! Smug. Even if that is what you believe, we should still investigate this possibility. Now then, let us examine this knife in a little more detail. Okay. Let's see here. What am I looking for here? Oh, maybe this? Yo! I can't believe it! Turned into a key! I think that was such a trick to this thing. So, the weapon used to kill Mr. Faraday is actually the key to the Yatagatasu stole. This piece of information is more critical than anything we've learned up until now. It's possible nobody knew that yet. That's handy-dandy. Frankly, I'm shocked. Mr. Faraday only mentioned the key aspect of this piece of the evidence in his organizer. It's possible that even he had no idea this key was hiding a knife blade inside. But if that's true, then only someone who knew about the key to knife trick could have killed Mr. Faraday. Even among law enforcement, this key was top secret. We're looking for someone who knew even more about the key than even Mr. Faraday. Meaning that the only person it could be is the one who sent the key in the first place. The great thief Yatagatasu. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Okay, either Edgeworth is wrong or I'm wrong, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll probably bet that he's the one who's correct. Then maybe Mr. Rel really was the Yatagatasu? And he was the one who killed Mr. Faraday. Isn't that one possible scenario? No, not really. Especially since Mr. Faraday was absolutely convinced that Mr. Rel was not the Yatagatasu. Besides, as Detective Bad said earlier. But when we questioned Rel about what was sent along with the white card, Rel had no idea what it was. I see. Alright then, I guess the person who knows the trick behind this key is someone else, and that person is the real Yatagatasu. Seems that this key is truly the key to solving this case. And that's why Edgeworth never laughs. Alright, what's this folder all about? I took a quick look through these documents before the trial started. Well, I wasn't even offered the opportunity to skim it. Well, you are 13. I suppose I just should explain it to you then. Yes, you should. Perfectly and in its entirety, if you please. On the night of September 8th, an embassy staff member was killed in front of the embassy. The staff member died of shock due to being shot in the heart, also because there was a bullet lodged in it. That was more the case than what I said, yeah. Anyway, Mackerel was brought in the night as a suspect and thoroughly questioned, because the murder weapon was found on him, for which he was arrested on the spot. A simpleton of a man, that's what he was. Perhaps he was, for the weapon wasn't the only incriminating evidence we had. Mr. Rill was caught in the act on a film by a security camera. He was an even bigger simpleton than I thought. I can't believe he didn't notice a security camera. The Cadopian Embassy security system is supposedly very well disguised. He may have simply not been aware that there was a camera in the area. So, have you seen the contents of the video for yourself? Yes, the surveillance video the security camera took was played during the trial by Mr. Faraday. You can clearly identify Mr. Rel on it. Even the sound of the gunshot was crystal clear. So the footage included sound, huh? Okay. I don't think I'd ever want to see the moment of someone's death in real life. Boy, howdy. Me neither. Me neither. Yeah, we're all in agreement on that one. That's odd. We're short one piece of evidence. And the piece that's missing is the surveillance video that was played in court. The surveillance video? How could a piece of evidence just disappear? Where did it go? The video showing the moment in which Mr. Rel committed the murder. Where could it have gone indeed? That's the million-dollar question. Are you done with your inspection of the evidence? Yes, I'm finished. However, Your Honor, I am missing a single piece of prosecutorial evidence. Your Honor, were you derelict in your duties? What? No, I dare not lick my duties. Well, yes, I would hope nobody would ever do that, Judge. What do you take me for? Bald. No, Your Honor, the most important piece of evidence in today's trial, the surveillance video, is not amongst the evidence you laid out for me. But I brought Mr. Faraday's whole bag with me from the crime scene. Maybe the tape is still somewhere at the crime scene? I believe that might be the case. There's something wrong here. Something about this missing piece of evidence. It would appear that for me to find the answers I seek, I'll have to pay another visit to the scene of the crime, defendant lobby number 2. I mean, I have a theory. What in God's name is he doing here? Edgeworth, you literally met Kay, Gumshoe, and freaking Lang all at the same time, and you don't remember any of it? That's just silly. Huh? That's Detective Bad, but who is he with? Never seen that officer before. So, did you find it? No, not yet, and I've looked everywhere. I see. Well, then please continue with the search. Understood. I'll continue the search. Heh, so you're the one running this show. Prosecutors like you shouldn't even be allowed at crime scenes. How dare you? Just who do you think you are? None of your business. I don't have a sprite of myself in this outfit. I mean, like a profile sprite, obviously. What was that all about? Who was that man just now? Whoever he was, I've never seen a more impudent officer in my life. Man, what a jackass. I sure would hate to have to talk to him 7 years from now. Does he even know that we're standing right here behind him? I know you're standing right behind me. What do you want? I mean, he is holding a mirror, kids. It looks like you were paying attention after all. Of course I was. I have eyes in the back of my head, or rather a mirror, that I hold up to my face. So that mirror isn't for vanity's sake. It's for him to keep an eye out on who or what is behind him at all times. So tell me, Detective Bad, who was that rude man just now, and why is he the thing? I don't like him. That guy came here from the Republic of Zengfa to study. He's Agent Lang. You'll apparently forget that you ever experienced this, though. He's trying everything he can to revive the lost honor of his family. He's traveling the world to study different philosophies of detainment from scratch. Okay. By visiting various police departments around the world? He has a lot of dedication. He's still just a rookie cop, but I sense a strong grudge of some sort from him. The guy's more useful than Gumshoe, even if he is rude. I don't know. He was pretty terrible at his job the last time I saw him, which was the future. Well, he sure has a lot of guts to come to this country and give prosecutors a hard time. I agree. However, I can think of one young lady that statement also applies to. Anyway, what was that agent looking for, Detective Bad? Earlier, that little girl was poking around in lobby number 1 as well. Like I said before, it's got nothing to do with the two of you. Or does it? I think I know exactly what you were looking for. I highly doubt that it has nothing to do with me. Fine, if this is the game I must play, then I'll take the opportunity to draw out what he's been hiding and what happened in this room straight from him. Easy peasy squeezy styles. Actually, no, hang on a second. Francisca, what does your face think? It looks like Detective Bad is searching for something. Indeed. I'm curious as to what it could be myself. Maybe I should just ask him. Maybe, but I still felt the need to talk to Francisca first. Anyway. I suppose it's impossible. Yeah, to enter or exit through the windows. Yeah, it's because I was trying to talk to the detective. Actually, that's not true. I bet a person of small stature could slip in. Francisca, would you care to help me test my theory? Why must you constantly make a reference to my smallness? Yeah! Drat. I must remember to be more tactful around the vertically challenged. Oh, so tiny. Head pats for you. Yeah, she'd hit me for it, but I don't care. Earlier, you were in lobby number 1, and now you're in lobby number 2. What's your game? Quite the busy man, Detective Bad. Multiple returns to a crime scene brings about success. That's what we detectives say. I thought criminals only came back to the crime scenes. Anyway, I don't think it's you. I see. In that case, you wouldn't mind if I asked about what happened again, correct? I don't have anything left to say to you, boy. Ah, boy! You'll see I will drag my answer from you one way or another. Would it kill you to help us even a tiny bit in our investigation? I gave Faraday's notebook to the judge earlier. That's help enough, don't you think? Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah, that was helpful. Please, we're asking for just a bit more of your cooperation. Don't push me, kid. You know, if there's anything I hate more than anything, it's solving crimes. I'd like to ask once again about what happened around here at the time of the crime. I refuse to answer. Any more investigating you do would be a waste of time. Okay, well that's obviously a lie. Besides, how am I supposed to answer questions about things I don't know about? Things you don't know about? But aren't you supposed to know everything? He should. Wait, is it possible? Maybe he doesn't know about the trick behind that piece of evidence. I should try showing it to him. It may prove to be the key to be some of the answers from Detective Bad. Here we go. Maybe I need to show the key itself? We're gonna find out real fast. Detective Bad, did you know of the existence of the item in this photograph? Of course I did. It's my job to know everything related to the Yatagatasu case. In that case, let me ask you something. Did you know that the knife that killed Mr. Faraday and this Yatagatasu's key are one and the same? What? That's impossible. It looks like he didn't know after all. This piece of evidence, which we call the Yatagatasu's key, is actually a well-camouflaged knife. Mr. Faraday was planning to use this Yatagatasu's key to prove that Mr. Rel was not the real Yatagatasu. Isn't that correct? I guess so. However, Mr. Faraday had no idea that it was in fact a kniff. Yeah, I have to admit, neither one of us knew that fact. And if neither of us knew, then no one in law enforcement knew either. How did we miss something as big as this? I noticed that since a little while ago, you appear to be searching for something. I presume that this key is what you were searching for. Yeah, that's right. And why were you searching for it? Because I promised Faraday. I promised that I'd protect the key with my life. But after he was killed, the key disappeared from Faraday's evidence bag. I would have thought the key is what took Faraday's life. Detective Bad, so that we may find the truth, please testify for me once more. All right. But it doesn't matter how many times I tell you about what happened. Nothing'll change. We'll be the judge of that. Give me that information on that time I murder you. Detective Bad, I ask that you please testify once more about what happened in the lobby number 2 and what you experienced in lobby number 1. My answer is still the same, and this is the last time I'm going to do this. That's fine, because I only need this one last time to clear everything up and find the truth behind this case. I demand all the information! I was in lobby number 1, talking with you. We were talking about some trivial things. I heard the gunshot right before the trial was about to reconvene. When we heard it, you and I immediately dashed out into the hallway together. And I saw Gumshoe goofing off around there, and then we all ran into lobby number 2. Okay. It sounds like the exact story that you told us before. Indeed. However, I feel that we have yet to draw out all the information that we can. All right. Then let's start pressing some things. All right. So that works out. But what do you mean by trivial? Like, legitimately, I'll be the judge if it was trivial. I was hoping you could expand on exactly what you were discussing with Miss Yu. Trivial stuff. It was nothing important. That's for me to decide. All right, I suppose that's for him to decide. Moving on then. All right then, fair enough. All right, we'll talk about this gunshot. Gunshot, whatever, talk about it. Until you heard the gunshot, did you notice anything else that was out of the ordinary? I didn't hear any of the other strange sounds until that gunshot. If the gunshot Detective Bad heard was really the one from the murder, that would give the other piece of evidence an entirely different meaning. I ask that you please amend your testimony with that statement just now. Sure. I didn't hear any other strange sounds until that gunshot. Okay, then hang on a second. Then I'm not saying it's the same thing you heard, but you didn't hear this either then? Smug. Detective Bad, does this balloon fragment remind you of anything? It's the same color as the one Kay was holding. Oh, so you knew about the girl's balloon? Yeah, I was sitting with her up in the gallery. During the recess, just before we split up, I filled that balloon up for her. Oh, that was nice of you. Well, as you may have already surmised, this piece did indeed come from Kay's balloon. So, what about the balloon? I wonder if you might remember hearing this balloon pop at some point. What are you getting at? This fragment was found in the hallway right in front of lobby number 2. Furthermore, it was the sound of this balloon popping that the judge mistook as a gunshot. Oh, so the sound that the judge heard was not actually a gunshot, huh? On top of that, His Honor said that he heard the balloon pop about 20 minutes before the trial was to reconvene. Yes, which means that His Honor heard the balloon pop in the hallway when you were in lobby number 1, Detective Bad. And if you were in lobby number 1 at the time, you were close enough that you should have heard the balloon popping as well. So, don't give me a soap. We're both flabbergasted. We just proved that there's a flaw in your testimony. The crackling of the truth is louder than the sound of your sweet naivete cracking. And since you kids don't seem to know, let me fill you in on something. Did you ever stop to think why the doors and walls of this place seem so rugged? It's because they were designed to keep secrets from being leaked. But what is that supposed to mean? The doors and walls are super thick. The window panes are double layered. To top it all off, even the curtains are made of a special sound-absorbent material. Then, you mean... Since I was shut up inside, lobby number 1, there was no way I could have heard that sound. No! Wait, well then how did you hear a gunshot? I knew that's what he was going to say. Fun fact, my curtains are made of a light-absorbing material. Then that means that Scruffface's testimony is completely useless. If the rooms are soundproof, then of course he wouldn't hear any sign of a struggle. Arr. That's also why it's only natural that I didn't hear the balloon popping. Now do you get it, kids? Miles! I thought we were supposed to be the ones finding flaws in his logic, not the other way around. The other way around? It's not possible to hear the sound of a balloon popping if one were in lobby number 1. However, if we examine the situation in reverse, a person standing in the hallway should not be able to hear the real gunshot either. And yet, Detective Gumshoe claims to have heard it while he was standing in the hallway. Detective Bad, if that is the case, how exactly did you hear the gunshot? What do you mean, how? I just did. It would appear that you have yet to realize the contradiction in your own words. Oh, how so? If the rooms are as soundproof as you say they are, then how did the sound of the gunshot enter your ears? See what you mean. I guess I'm more out of it from Faraday's murder than I had thought. Which means what, exactly, Miles? In the end, what does it all boil down to? Macaroni, of course! It boils down to this. There must be a reason as to how Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard a gunshot they theoretically couldn't have. Looks like we need to examine the state of the crime scene again, huh? The state of the crime scene. Wait, can it be? It's that ultra-strong perfume Yu wears. She spilled some of it. Whoa. Okay. Ah! It's way too noisy. The TV. Okay. The surveillance video? How could the piece of evidence just disappear? Where did it go? I see. That's a huge chunk of stuff you just gave me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the very loud television and the missing evidence are connected. No? Not exactly a shining example of the perfect line of logic. What? But I thought the missing evidence was in the TV. Because they talked about how the gunshot sound was heard in the video. Okay, well, lobby number 2 window and dissipating the smell. Okay, that one definitely has to be connected, yeah? It's simply not possible for the killer to have escaped through barred windows. And yet, the fragrance of the perfume managed to escape from defendant lobby number 1. Of course! Incorporeal things can move freely through these open barred windows. Oh, okay. So then, very loud television and open windows. Incorporeal, like sound, basically. That's what they wanted. Now then, what else besides a smell can go both in and out of an open barred window? The answer is sound! So, no matter how carefully the killer was, if the windows were open, the jig would be up. And since the windows in both defendant lobby number 1 and the hallway were open, that explains how the sound of a gunshot could be heard in both locations. There we go. Okay, missing evidence and a gunshot could be heard. Those are definitely gotta be the connected things, yes? Hey, all right, there you go. The missing piece of evidence in a video. That shows the moment in which Mr. Rell killed the embassy staff member. The sound of the gunshot left quite an impression on me when it was played during the trial. The video should have been returned to Mr. Faraday's evidence bag for the recess. And yet, brought back here. And if it disappeared after that time, then it's possible that the tape is still here in this room. Eureka! The evidence that the missing evidence created for me is the gunshot sound that no one should have been able to hear in the first place. Miles, what have you been thinking about? Stop wasting time thinking and let's start looking again. It's not a waste of time to think, Francisca. Jeez. For I have figured out where we should look. And where would that be? I believe we should examine the television! The TV! Well, you kids have fun. Go ahead and examine whatever you like. Investigation has begun! I won't rest until I've looked at that VHS player! Which is weird, because I feel like Ace Attorney cases, the time scale is always mixed up, but I know it's always supposed to take place in the future of when the game is being played. I think this came out in 2009. I want to say the first game was maybe 2011. Going back in time. Either way, there shouldn't be a VHS player. It should definitely be a DVD at this point. Regardless, examine! It's a video player, and there seems to be a videotape inside. Aha! Muppet sing-along, just as I suspected. It looks like the tape must have stopped on its own when it reached the end. This tape. Could it not be the missing surveillance tape? I suppose, but Detective Bad, would it be at all right with you if I verified the contents of this video? Sure, knock yourself out. All right, then let's rewind this and see what we have here. If I remember correctly, the footage of Rel killing the embassy staff member should be at about the 30-minute mark from the start of the tape. Understood. This should be about right. Now then, let's see. Hey-oh, hey-oh. Yeah, this is the footage of Mr. Rel shooting the embassy staff member. I knew it. The missing piece of evidence, the surveillance video, was here all along. Yo, we'll be using that. Thank you very much. This sound. What's the meaning of this? It appears that Detective Bad has figured out the true source of this gunshot he heard. With this, I think we can figure out the trick behind this double murder. Do you mean that you figured it all out then? Yes. All I have to do now is show what the gunshot Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. Yeah. Fine, in that case, show me what you've deduced. Okay, now to show what now to show what the gunshot Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard was, and through where they heard it from. Okay, I feel like I could just tell her and that this is kind of unnecessary. Okay, then open window, videotape with a very loud gunshot, plus the TV was turned on to be as loud as possible. Come on, Francisca, I know you're smarter than that. If the door and windows to the crime scene, namely this room that we're in, were closed, the killer could have used the gun and no one would have been the wiser. That's true. The courthouse does seem to be well designed for such a thing, as it were. However, what happened in reality was Detective Gumshoe, Detective Bad, and Miss Yu, all three of them heard the gunshot. Well, the windows in lobby number 1, number 2, and the hallway were open. So, naturally, the people in those locations could hear it. Ah, but then why would the criminal open the window in the first place? To allow the gunshot to be heard, I suppose. Correct. That's the only logical conclusion we can draw from this. But why was that necessary in the first place? I want a real answer, Miles. I demand satisfaction! Very well. I believe that the killer wanted to manipulate our perception of a certain fact. What was it that the killer was trying to manipulate? The crime scene, murder, when the crime took place. Trying to make it seem like it happened just then and there, when perhaps it took place before literally anything else. Like maybe they were dead before people were even in the hallway. The killer wanted to fabricate the time of death to their precise wishes. And who was the first person in this hallway? We saw it in the flashback from Detective Bad. We did. Yu was the only one in here. Gumshoe and Bad walked in after her. She was already just chilling in here. I think I'm right. And they used the gunshot in the surveillance video to do so. So that's why the tape was left running. You mean the gunshot I heard was from this video? Yes, which means that the murders really occurred at an earlier time than we thought. It must have been during the recess, but before Detective Gumshoe was on guard duty. Someone who has no alibi for that time period. I know who! And planned this crime out in advance. That person is the real killer. Yo! All right, cool. At least so far, I've never been able to make never more than a single mistake. That's nice, at least. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, what is it? Miss Yu is asking for you. She's in the courtroom. She says that she's identified the murderer, but that she wants to clarify something. It looks like Miss Yu is still investigating something. Oh, sorry. Understood. Please tell her that I'll be right over. I'll come along. I want to hear what she has to say. That's good, because she definitely did this. It is so totally her. It would appear that the time has come to uncover the truth. Oh, and you better believe we about to uncover some truth. Let's freaking go. We don't got time to save our game. We've got crimes to solve.